Hey guys, have I got a show for you? Let me start off by giving a shout out to my friend Steven who brought this to my attention. He had suggested I take a look at the Rainbow Bridge. I originally thought he was referring to my Niagara video, but then he made me aware that there was an accident on the Rainbow Bridge and that I should look into it. And I am glad that I did. So thank you, Stephen, for suggesting I look into this. The things that I found are absolutely mind-blowing. If you want to see the spiritual realm affecting the physical realm right in our faces, then you should watch this video. If you want to understand how to see deeper into the things that are happening in the world, then you should watch this video. Because I'm going to show you many things, many connections, all that came from this one accident that was no accident. We're going to cover this event. We're going to tie it into this movie. We're going to tie it into the end times, destruction. We're going to tie it into the mythology of the old gods. We're going to tie it into Obama and their movie company. We're going to tie this stuff into scriptures. It's going to be an incredible journey. When I started researching this, I wasn't sure what I was going to find, but I know that I just did the Niagara video, and the Rainbow Bridge was part of that, and I touched on the Rainbow Bridge. So when Stephen had suggested this to me, I knew I had to look at it. But I'm only getting to it right now because I had to make the cross video and the Christmas video first. Because I have to do what the Lord directs me to do, not what I want to do. So it was time now to do this video. And I could not even believe what I was led to. And I don't think you will either, because it's absolutely crazy. Truth is truly so much stranger than fiction. So let's take a nice deep look at what happened on this day, why it happened, how it happened, and what we are to take from it. I also want to give a shout out to James Smith, another one of my viewers and friends, brothers in Christ, because when I was sharing that I was looking into this accident, he had shared with me that the car that was in this accident was also in a movie coming out with Julia Roberts and Ethan Hawke. I asked him if it was the movie called Leave the World Behind, and he said yes. And then I let him know that that was produced by Obama, who we all know is the Antichrist. There is going to be some absolutely crazy connections. You guys definitely don't want to miss this. So let's get into this. This is going to be a good one. As we get closer to the end, the truth will become more and more precious, and the people that hold it will have a great responsibility, because the world will reject what they have to say, persecute, hunt them down, and kill them. These truths are hard, and it takes a certain kind of person led by God to bring these truths to the surface. So choose you this day whom ye will serve. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Welcome. One last thing before I get into this. If you have not watched the Thanksgiving video and the Niagara Falls video, I would highly suggest that you watch them. These two videos go hand in hand with this video. You will get some backstory to this video and a deeper understanding if you watch those videos. And if you have, then you're going to pick up what I'm putting down real quick on this video. Alright, now let's get into it. So I am sure that you guys have heard about this Rainbow Bridge event, or at least most of you have. This accident that took place on the Rainbow Bridge in between New York and Ontario, so at the US-Canadian border. I just want to give a shout out to my friend Steven, who brought this to my attention weeks ago when it happened. I've only been able to get to it now because I first needed to do the cross video and the Christmas video. But now is the time to bring forth this mind-blowing event. Now, at the surface, this just looks like an accident, but what I'm going to show you is going to completely change your perspective. I'm going to show you how this event not only took place in a movie to mark the end times, but also was spoken about the ancient gods. And I'm going to give you biblical scriptures, and we are going to dive right into this thing. And I'm going to show you what the Lord has shown to me. Now I'm going to start by showing you 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 9. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power in signs and lying wonders. Alright, this is the scripture verse that is going to lead us today. Okay, so this is talking about the Antichrist, whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders. So all this will make sense as we dive into this, because what we're seeing on this bridge is a display of power, signs, and lying wonders done after the working of Satan. So let's get into it. This is the Reuters article. Fiery Rainbow Bridge car crash at US-Canada border kills 2. Terrorism is ruled out. So, this accident happened on November 22nd. Okay, this is the day before Thanksgiving. Now, if you watch my Thanksgiving video, then you will know that Thanksgiving is a wicked and demonic holiday. It's strange fire, sacrifice being offered up to strange gods. If you haven't seen it, I would suggest you watch it. But either way, this video will make sense to you. But I definitely would suggest gaining that knowledge if you haven't already. So this event happened on November 22nd. Okay? 22 and 11 for November is 33. This is a Masonic number. It happened in the year 2023, which is 322, skull and bones. This article was posted at 11:03. That's 311, 33, 3 times 11. So, just by the date and time this article is published, we know there is stuff in this article that we need to see. Okay, this is what the numbers are good for. They tell you to look closer. Okay, we don't use these numbers to divine. We look at these numbers because the enemy uses them to hide the truth right in front of us. So when we see these numbers, we know, hey, look deeper. Take a closer look. Does that mean all numbers are evil? No. It just means take a closer look. So that's what we're going to do. And I did. And I'm going to show you some absolutely crazy stuff. But first, let me cover 322, because Thanksgiving this year was on November 23rd. Okay? November is 11. You can look at it as 11, or you can look at it as 1 and 1. If we use Thanksgiving Day as 1 and 1, we can see that November adds up to 2. And Thanksgiving was on the 23rd. So the 23rd plus 2 is 3, 2, and 2. in the year of 322, okay? This is Skull and Bones number. Let me show you. Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones, also known as the Order 322, or the Brotherhood of Death. Okay? This is the year of the Brotherhood of Death. This is why there's so much death going on that we need to pay attention to. Now, wrap your head around this. The year 2023, which is 322, the year of Skull and Bones, is exactly 191 years from its foundation. So in other words, the year 2023, 322, is 191 years, 911, from the foundation. This is the release of Apollo, 9/11, Revelation 9:11, okay? Happening in 2023 by the Brotherhood of Death. Now, let's get back to the article. A speeding car crashed in flames on the bridge linking New York State and Ontario at Niagara Falls on Wednesday, killing 2 people in the vehicle and sparking a security scare that closed 4 U.S.-Canadian border crossings. So it's important to understand that the day before Thanksgiving, November 22nd, 33, was Wednesday. Wednesday is Odin's Day. Thanksgiving was on Thursday, which is Thor's Day. Odin is Thor's father. Odin was the one-eyed shepherd. Thor is also one-eyed. He's the second one-eyed shepherd. So these gods, what they do is they come back as a new god. They're replaced by a newer god. That's why there's so many gods. I'm pointing this all out to you because it's going to play a role in a little while. Now, 2 people were killed in the vehicle. Okay? This is important to remember. 2 people died on the Rainbow Bridge. What I'm trying to do is point out things that are important because I'm going to show you stuff in ancient mythology, which really isn't mythology, that coincides with exactly what we're seeing here. Now, I'm not going to read the whole article, but I just want to take you through it. And then I will show you where the Spirit led me as I went through these things. Video of the crash caught on a security camera and posted to X by U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency showed the car traveling from the U.S. side at high speed, then hitting an object flying into the air before crashing to the ground and exploding in flames. The driver and the passenger perished in the wreck. Authorities did not identify the 2 people killed. CNN reported the driver was a 56-year-old man who was traveling in a Bentley automobile with his wife to attend a concert by the rock group Kiss. A performance of the band scheduled for Wednesday in Toronto as part of the group's farewell tour was canceled after one of its members, Paul Stanley, came down with the flu. The crash unfolded at a time of heightened security concerns around the world, stemming from the conflict in the Middle East and at the peak of U.S. holiday travel on the eve of Thanksgiving celebrations. So you can see they're using what's happening, the rumors of wars in the Middle East, and associating it with Thanksgiving. This is fear, okay? They're using fear to control what you think so that you don't do what I'm about to show you. The Rainbow Crossing remained closed during the investigation as officials assessed the crossing's safety. So the Rainbow Bridge was closed down because they weren't sure if it was safe to cross. Hochul said the car that crashed sailed over an 8-foot-tall fence before landing in a fireball that incinerated the vehicle, leaving little but the engine visibility intact and scattering debris over more than a dozen security booths on the bridge. Witness Mike Gunther told Buffalo Television that he was walking near the bridge with his wife when the car traveling at high speed struck a fence at the crossing and was catapulted into the air before exploding. He was flying over 100 miles an hour, said Gunther, who was visiting from Kitchener. He said the vehicle, which he described as a luxury sedan, was fishtailing out of control before it crashed. It was a ball of fire, 30 or 40 feet high. Never seen anything like it, said Gunther. So I'm going to cover a few details and then we'll start following these details. But I just want to lay the groundwork for you. So a car traveling from the U.S. at high speed, then hitting an object and flying into the air and crashing to the ground and exploding into flames. The driver and passenger, they both died. Okay? So, for some reason, this car was driving at a super fast speed, flew into the air, and blew up. Now, authorities don't identify the people, but CNN reported that the driver was a 56-year-old man. So, here you have 56. This is 11, right? 101. The doorway to the Antichrist. This man was traveling in a Bentley automobile, and we saw down further in the article that it was a luxury vehicle, which means that not only is it electric, but it is also a self-driving car, which can be taken over by anyone, especially the demons that are in the technology. Notice they don't say how old his wife was. That's because this number matters, okay? They tell you that they're going to see KISS. KISS stands for Knights in Satan's Service. So these two were going to see a satanic band, which pretty much all of them are satanic anyways, to go to a rock concert. Now, here's the kicker. A performance of the band scheduled for that Wednesday was canceled because Paul Stanley had, oh, look at this, the flu. We're going to cover all this. I'm just want you to see these things really closely because they go with what I'm about to show you. Now, if we go back down to here, we see that the car sailed over an 8-foot-tall fence. Okay, here's your portal. Okay, they're crossing a rainbow bridge, which is the portal to the God's realm. Okay, America is the land of the gods, the false gods. And here this car sailed over an 8-foot-tall fence before landing in a fireball that incinerated the vehicle. This tells you it was an electric vehicle. Now remember, Satan wants an electric kingdom. This is how he's going to control everybody through the mark, through AI, through face recognition. Everything's going to be digital and automated and electric, which gives Satan 100% control. This is the Iron Kingdom. Now, you can tell by how they described what happened to this vehicle that it was indeed electric, and because it's luxury, we know that it has self-driving capabilities, which means it can be taken over from an outside source and driven. That's how these things work. Leaving little but the engine visibly intact and scattering debris over more than a dozen security booths on the bridge. Now, this witness says that he was walking near the bridge with his wife when the car traveling at high speed struck the fence at the crossing and was catapulted into the air before exploding. So this thing went into the air and exploded, okay? I will tell you, there are ways that you can heat the battery to make these things explode. You don't even need to do anything yourself. These cars can explode with no help.
All-electric Jeep blows out garage door while charging.
2-month-old baby in the back seat, but something told them that if they didn't do something, this could become a very dangerous situation for the driver of the BMW. They took off after the BMW to warn the driver. They honked the horn, frantically trying to get his attention. Finally, they were able to catch up at a traffic light and get his attention. The driver opened the window to talk to them, and Jen yelled, "Your car is on fire!" He put the car in park, turned on the hazards, and ran away to safety. Moments later, the whole car was engulfed in flames. Seconds after that, the car exploded. The driver was safe and thanked Brian and Jen, saying, "You saved my life." He was the only person in the BMW at the time. They exchanged information, and Brian and Jen sent him the Tesla cam footage. Brian says it was a crazy experience. That we never saw this one on the news.
Now on Night Beat, some scary moments.
So far, Tesla not commenting on this video.
Scary moments for the car's owner.
Some Tesla vehicles catching fire.
Saying it caught fire out of the blue.
Tesla has long been the subject of media reports on electric car fires.
This guy who was walking says he was flying over 100 miles an hour. I don't know how he would possibly know that, unless he had a radar gun on him. But anyways, he said the vehicle was described as a luxury sedan, was fishtailing out of control before it crashed. So this car is already out of control. Okay, so the guy's obviously not in control driving it. It's speeding. It goes over this 8-foot fence, this portal, flies into the air, explodes, and became a ball of fire 30 or 40 feet high, like nothing this guy has ever seen. So let's get back to Kiss. These guys were on their way to the Kiss concert, the Knights in Satan's Service concert. Kiss concert in Toronto canceled as Paul Stanley deals with the flu. So November 22nd, 2023. This is the same date that they were going. We'll take a look at the date that they want to show you highlights from this tour. 9/11. Rock legends Kiss have canceled their concert in Toronto Wednesday as frontman Paul Stanley battles the flu. So we know that the Rona is crown, right? The king, the crown, the false Christ, Apollo. So we know that he brought this. And here we have Knights in Satan's Service, supposed to be doing a concert, and these people are coming across the Rainbow Bridge. They are killed, and the concert just so happens to be canceled. So they really didn't need to go to the concert, okay, because it was being canceled. You see what I'm saying? So the cancellation for Wednesday night at Scotiabank Arena came after the band also had to cancel their Tuesday night performance in Ottawa due to a band member's illness. In the hours leading up to the band's scheduled performance, Stanley apologized to fans on X, formerly known as Twitter, for being under the weather. Toronto and Ottawa, I have done everything possible to get on stage to be part of an incredible 2.5-hour celebration we planned, but this flu has made it impossible. Why have I highlighted 2.5 hours? Because 2.5 hours is 150 minutes, which is 15, which is 5, 5, 5, which is 666. So just wanted to point that out. Stanley also shared a photo showing him lying in a bed with an IV drip. So we know that IV is for Hermes, right? Hermes is the number 4, which we will get to. Okay, this is Roman numeral 4, IV. Now here they're showing him in bed with an IV. Now this is completely fake. This is stage for your brainwashing and possession. He already looks dead. Here we have this guy hooked up to this IV, showing you on 33-322, hooked into the IV because they're trying to possess your spirit. Now, I want to show you something very interesting. The name of this tour that they were going to see is called KISS, Countdown, the End of the Road World Tour, with special guest Crown Lands. Crown. We know that crown, another word for crown is Corona. So on the night of November 22nd, the crown, Corona, lands on Gene Simmons. So they have to cancel the show. And he's hooked up to the IV, which is Hermes, which I'm going to show you this stuff in a minute. I'm just trying to make some connections for you. I showed you in the Christmas video that 55 is what the word Satan adds up to, using their numbers. And the End of the Road World Tour could also be looked at as the End of the World Road Tour. And it will have the same value in the demonic realm. So End of the World Road Tour with special guest Corona landing on Gene Simmons on the day of the concert, the same day as the Rainbow Bridge accident. So I was talking about making this video with James Smith in the Discord, and he had told me that this same kind of car, this Bentley that was exploded and used in this ritual, was also the same car that was in this new movie coming out with Julia Roberts and Ethan Hawke. And I asked him, I said, is it called Leave the World Behind? I said, because if it is, that movie was made by Obama. And he said, yeah, it is called that. So, knowing that this is a Antichrist awakening ritual to bring the spirit into the physical, I decided to look up that movie. Here it is called Leave the World Behind, right? And look at this. It was released in select theaters on November 22nd, 2023. 33-322. Secret Society of Death, called Leave the World Behind. This is the same day those two people on the bridge died and left the world behind. The same day that KISS canceled their concert on the End of the World tour. Okay? I hope you guys are starting to see these connections I'm laying out. So it's going to be released on Netflix on December 8th, 2023. Okay? That's 8, which is a portal, but it's also 8 plus 1 plus 2. So 11, 101, the door to the Antichrist. It was premiered at this festival on October 25th. 5 plus 2 plus 1 is 8. The portals opened into the Freemason demonic year of death, and here we have the open door 101. Okay? You see how these dates work together to make sure that we leave the world behind? It says there's no going back to normal. I'm pretty sure you've all realized that that is exactly true. The last thing I wanted to show you is that it is 141 minutes long. That's 1, that's 11, and 4. 11 times 4 is 44. That is Obama, the Antichrist's number. President number 44. Okay, now, I wouldn't even have seen this if James Smith didn't talk about this movie. And this goes hand in hand with what we just saw with the Kiss concert. Now, these things are all happening on the same day. Okay, this is not a coincidence. Here you can see the Obama's Higher Ground board Sam Essel's Netflix pick, Leave the World Behind. All right, so the Obamas produced this movie. All right, they paid for it. Well, let's have a look. The Obamas Higher Ground board Sam Esmail's Netflix pick, Leave the World Behind. So the Antichrist has a production company called Higher Ground. How demonic. Look at their logo. The Stairway to Heaven. Right? This is the Antichrist, the false shepherd. President Barack Obama and Michelle Obama's production company Higher Ground has come aboard Sam Esmail's upcoming film Leave the World Behind for Netflix. Now, for those of you who do not know this, the reason there is so much darkness and evil on Netflix is because it is partially owned by the Obamas. As a matter of fact, I think they own a very large part of Netflix. Right? Netflix. It's a entertainment channel, a movie channel that casts a net over you, right? It traps you. It possesses you. This is why there's so many dark shows on there. And I would suggest you all cancel your accounts if you have them. But I'm just throwing this out there. So here is Higher Ground Productions. In May 2018. So here we have 5V, right, which is in Lucifer's sigil, in the year of 2018, which is actually 118, that's 88. And if we just want to use the 18, that's 6 plus 6 plus 6. So, the Obamas launched Higher Ground Productions by signing a multi-year deal with Netflix to produce scripted and unscripted film and television projects with the goal of the company to lift up diverse voices in the entertainment industries. Now, we gotta read between the lines here, okay? Think spiritually, not physically. Michelle Obama stated, I have always believed in the power of storytelling, right? What's history? It's Satan's story, his story, right? Because the narrative is what people believe. So here you have Michael telling you that they've always believed in the power of storytelling. That's right. And we're going to leave this part out to inspire us. But to make us think differently about the world around us. Right. So instead of thinking that it is God's creation, we think that we are just one of a gazillion planets in a bazillion star universe that just goes on forever and started at a big bang and there is no God. That's how they want us to think about the world. They want us to open our minds to demonic spirits in possession. I hope you guys are seeing what I'm trying to show you. In February 2019, the Metonic Cycle, Priya Swaminathan, Tanaya Davis, and Kadraya Q. Shamsid Dean. Now, I'm sorry. Seriously? Here we have Q as the creative executive, right? The tail spinner, the creative executive of this Higher Ground entertainment company. Q, you guys, the spirit of Antichrist, riding hand in hand with Obama. Now, one last thing on the Obama's company before I carry on was I noticed that they produced a movie called American Factory, which is supposed to be a documentary nonfiction. So I went and looked that up because that title, and knowing it's from the Obamas, makes me think of a possession factory where they deceive and mislead everyone from. Now, I'm not interested in any of this. I just wanted to see what it was about. So in post-industrial Ohio, a Chinese billionaire opens a factory in an abandoned General Motors plant, hiring 2,000 Americans. Early days of hope and optimism give way to setbacks as high-tech China clashes with working-class America. This is very interesting to me, okay? Because I've told you that demons are in the technology. China is the land of the dragon. Demons are in technology, high-tech, spiritual possession. And how many Americans did they hire? 2,000. Why is this important? Because when Jesus cast out Legion out of the man in Mark 5, it says, "And forthwith Jesus gave them leave, and the unclean spirits went out and entered into the swine, and the herd ran violently down a steep place into the sea. They were about 2,000 and were choked in the sea." So high-tech possession, hiring 2,000 Americans. I just found that very interesting because this is another film done by Antichrist Productions. Now, I went on the End of the World road tour for KISS just to see if there was anything that stood out to me, and this is the only thing that did. Paul Stanley for KISS said that he believes strongly in the beginning of 2023 we will be finished. It seems only natural for the final show to be in New York, the Big Apple, the city of Mystery Babylon, the city that will be destroyed, the city that we hear about in Revelation 8:17 and 18. So this is where KISS's End of the World road tour will end. Remember, KISS stands for Knights in Satan's Service. Now, let's dive into the meat and potatoes. Hermes. So I showed you that Stanley shared a photo of him lying in a bed with an IV drip. Okay? IV, this is Hermes. He's getting medicine, which is also Hermes, the caduceus, in bed through an IV drip, the 4 drip. So Hermes is the protector of human heralds, travelers across the Rainbow Bridge, thieves who steal souls, merchants who deceive the world, and orators. He is able to quickly and freely move between the worlds of the mortal and the divine, aided by his winged sandals. Hermes plays a role as a psychopomp or a soul guide, a conductor of souls in the afterlife. In the myth, Hermes functions as an emissary and messenger of the gods. Messenger, RNA, right? He's a messenger of the gods, and is often presented as the son of Zeus and Maya the Pleiad. He is regarded as the divine trickster. So, who is the trickster god? Well, that would be Loki. All right, notice it says he's presented as the son of Zeus and Maya. Zeus, Odin, is Thor's father. Loki is his stepbrother. Okay, this is all shown to us in the Thor movies, which we're going to see in a little bit, but it says he's presented as the son of Zeus, so we know that he is not their child. He's just presented as their child. He is the divine trickster. So this is talking about Loki. So Hermes and Loki are the same god. So we're going to get to Loki in a little bit. I just got to cover some more things on Hermes first because this stuff is crazy. So Hermes' attributes and symbols include all these things, but I am only interested in the goat, which we know is Satan, and the number 4, right? Roman numeral IV. His main symbol is the caduceus. Okay, it's associated with medicine that comes through the IV. 4. It's a wing staff intertwined with 2 snakes copulating in carvings of other gods. In Roman mythology and religion, many of Hermes' characteristics belonging to Mercury, a name derived from the Latin merx meaning merchandise, and the origins of the words merchant and commerce. So, Revelation 18, we see, for thy merchants, okay? This is who Hermes is the god over. Merchants and travelers were the great men of the earth. For by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. Sorceries is Strong's 5331. Pharmakia, medicine, drugs or spells. So, Hermes, the divine trickster, who is the god of merchants, travelers, and medicine, is who Revelation 18 is represented by right here. For the merchants that are represented by Hermes, for by thy sorceries, the medicine, the witchcraft, the pharmakia that Hermes provides, all nations were deceived. Okay, this is talking about the medicine. The medicine is deceiving people because the fear is in the land. Apollo is riding. Hermes took over the role of psychopomp as god of messengers, travelers, and boundaries, which had originally belonged to Pan. Okay, we all know who Pan is, right? So here you have Hermes becoming the god of messengers. Messenger RNA over the travelers on the bridge and the boundaries between the United States and Canada, which had originally belonged to Pan. I know that that's not what it says. I'm showing you how to see this in spiritual manner, because this is what is happening right now. And by the time I'm done showing you this video, you will see it 100%. The image of Hermes evolved and varied along with the Greek art and culture. In archaic Greece, he was usually depicted as a mature, bearded man dressed as a traveler, herald, or shepherd. Okay, the one-eyed shepherd. This image remained common on the Hermai, which served as boundary markers, roadside markers, and grave markers, as well as votive offerings. So Hermes images, right, the image served as a boundary marker in between Canada and the United States, roadside markers, which they were on the road, and grave markers, which they died. Another object is the caduceus, a staff with 2 intertwined snakes, sometimes crowned with a pair of wings and a sphere. The caduceus historically appeared with Hermes and is documented among the Babylonians from about 3500 BC. 2 snakes coiled around the staff was also a symbol of the god Ningishzida, who, like Hermes, served as mediator between humans and the divine, specifically the goddess Ishtar, or the supreme Ningirsu. In Greece, other gods have been depicted holding a caduceus, but it was mainly associated with Hermes. It was said to have the power to make people fall asleep or wake up, and also made peace between litigants, and a visible sign of his authority being used as a scepter. A similar, appearing but distinct symbol is the rod of Asclepius, associated with the patron of medicine and son of Apollo. Asclepius, which bears only 1 snake. The rod of Asclepius occasionally conflated with the caduceus in modern times, is used by Western physicians as a badge of their profession. After the Renaissance, the caduceus also appeared in heraldic crests of several and currently is a symbol of commerce. So the merchants, commerce, right? Selling. I hope you see all the connections being made here between the ivy, the medicine, leading the nations astray, the pharmakia, the sorceries, the merchants of the world. If we scroll down a little further, we can see there's a title called As a Messenger God. As I showed you above, he was known as three things: God of boundaries, a messenger god, and as a shepherd god. So here's what it says about Hermes as a messenger god. In association with his role as psychopomp and god who is able to easily cross boundaries, Hermes is predominantly worshipped as a messenger, often described as the messenger of the gods, since he can convey messages between the divine realms, the underworld, and the world of mortals. So let's look at this spiritually. Okay? I've told you that the medicine separates you from God. It brings you into the realm of false gods, where you are giving in to these spirits of darkness, spirits of fear. When you are cut off from God, then you become part of the kingdom of the gods, little g. Now here we have Hermes, who is the caduceus, whose number is 4, IV, who is the trickster god, tricking people, bringing you forth the medicine, which is messenger R2, the NA, which brings you messages from the underworld to the world of mortals. I hope you guys can see what I'm showing you, because this is who Hermes is. Alright? The medicine is Hermes. It's bringing you messages. It's changing who you are on the inside so that you will hear the messages of the gods instead of the message of God. Now check this out. As a shepherd god, right? He's the one-eyed shepherd. Numerous depiction of Hermes as a shepherd god carrying a lamb on his shoulders have been found throughout the Mediterranean world, and is possibly the iconography of Hermes as the Good Shepherd had influence on early Christianity, specifically in the description of Christ as the Good Shepherd in the Gospel of John. So, you can see here, this is Hermes over here on the right. Now, people want to say that the cross isn't an idol, and they think they know everything about where these signs and symbols and idols come from, but they don't. Here we clearly have an idol that's used to portray Jesus in modern days from the Babylonian days. So understand. Now, do I believe that they based Christ on Hermes? No. Christ is the Good Shepherd. This is exactly backwards. Christ is the Good Shepherd. Hermes is the one-eyed shepherd. Now, before I cover Loki, who is the trickster god, which we learned that Hermes is the divine trickster god. So we know that Hermes and Loki are the same entity. We know that Loki is the stepson of Zeus, aka Odin. We've also saw in here that Hermes was presented as Zeus's son. Okay, so this is Loki and Hermes. Now, before we dive into Loki, I'm going to show you this video. So here we have one of the final scenes to the movie Thor, Ragnarok. And what you're seeing here is the golden city of Asgard, the land of the gods, and the rainbow bridge going out to a dome which will bring you to other dimensions. other worlds. So Asgard here is representing America, the land of the gods. As I showed you in the America is Egypt video, there are many, many, many gods who are worshipped here. People come here from all over the world and bring their faiths with them. And with their faith comes their God and the worship for them. So America is the land of the gods. I'm not saying that makes America great. I'm saying that makes America Mystery Babylon the mother of harlots. Harlots being the women who go astray from the Lord's bride going astray. So, let me play these clips and walk you through what we're seeing here. And then we will dive into Loki, and all these pieces will fall into place. Notice they are trying to get down the Rainbow Bridge, and there is a wolf on the bridge. A quite giant wolf, actually. This is going to come in later when we dive into Loki.
You see, no one's going anywhere.
So this character's name is Hela, aka Hel, and she has the Rainbow Bridge shut down with the wolf and the possessed, the undead. She just said to Thor that no one's going anywhere. So she has shut down the Rainbow Bridge.
Your savior is here!
Now here we have Loki, the Antichrist, the trickster god, coming in the clouds. Just like the Bible says Jesus will come. And Loki's yelling, "Your savior is here," with his 2 giant golden horns. This is obviously blasphemic and satanic. But Loki is now making an appearance on the Rainbow Bridge. So we have a wolf, we have Loki. Let's continue.
I'm the goddess of death.
So there you just heard her say, "I'm the goddess of death." Her name is Hel, and she is the goddess of death. Revelation 6:7. And when he had opened the 4th seal, I heard the voice of the 4th beast say, "Come and see." And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and Hell followed with him. So here we have Hell and Death, who has shut down the Rainbow Bridge.
I'm the goddess of death. What were you the god of again?
I had to mute the sound because this song would have gotten flagged. So she asks Thor what he was the god of again. So Thor has replaced Odin. Thor is the new god of lightning. Luke 10, verse 18. And he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven. So here is Satan falling from heaven as lightning. Now this is the electric car, the bolt. All electric cars have a lightning bolt on them. This is to give Satan control over the world, the electric kingdom, the electric prison. Now, when the lightning hits the Rainbow Bridge, there is an explosion and destruction. The car flies up into the air, comes crashing down to the bridge, and then a big explosion. just like that happened on the Rainbow Bridge. Now you got to try and see this in the spiritual realm. Otherwise, it's not going to make sense. What I'm showing you is the spiritual realm by showing you clues that were left for us in movies and in the mythologies. And once I dive into Loki's page, it will all make so much more sense. Now I want to also point out that the lightning, the car, Thor, is coming from America, okay? America is on the right side of the screen and Canada is on the left. So the bolt is coming from the American side to the Canadian side on the Rainbow Bridge, flying through the air, hitting the ground, and exploding.
The longer Hell is on Asgard, the more powerful she grows.
The longer Hell is on Asgard, the more powerful she grows. So hell and death are definitely riding across the United States right now, taking people who are giving in to their fear and falling prey to this end times deception, which is the medicine.
Loki, this was never about stopping Ragnarok. This was about causing Ragnarok.
So Thor and Loki are now both on the bridge, and Thor is saying to Loki that it was never about preventing Ragnarok, but starting it. So they are going to bring forth Satan. They're going to loose Satan, because Satan is the father of lies. He has promised everyone, even the fallen powers that follow him, that he can give them eternal life. And so they are going to loose Satan so that he can destroy hell and death, which we all know only Jesus can do. So we're going to see the Antichrist, Loki, go into Asgard and loose Satan so that he will come forth and kill Hela, who is hell and death, so that they may live. Notice how he gives a nice eye glance to the Tesseract. We all know that Loki uses that to change the hearts and minds of people and put them under possession. This is also known as Metatron's cube, Satan's prison, the knowledge of good and evil, the source of demonic powers.
With the eternal flame, you are reborn.
So the Antichrist Loki is now putting the helmet of Satan in the eternal flame and saying, you are reborn. He is loosing Satan. He is calling him forth. This is the end of the millennial reign. This is the spiritual implications. These are the signs we're being given. But as I showed you in 2 Thessalonians 2, verse 9, they are lying signs and wonders. All power, lying signs, and wonders. So we have to be able to see the truth in the lies.
You can't defeat me.
No, I know. But he can.
So Thor and Loki want to defeat hell and death. And she says, you can't defeat me. Now, here comes Satan smashing out of the Asgard castle. And Thor says, no, but he can. Because they believe the father of lies. They believe that Satan can grant them immortality and has the power over death and hell. But only God has that power. Only God. This is the satanic version of the Bible.
We're fulfilling the prophecy.
I hate this prophecy.
So do I, but we have no choice.
So here you hear them saying that they are fulfilling the prophecy. And even though they hate it, they have to fulfill it. They don't have a choice. That's because it is written. and God has all the true power. Satan has deception on his side, but God has truth and all the power on his side. You see how their savior is Satan? He is destroying hell and death for them, freeing them from hell and death. This is completely demonic. So just want to show you guys this clip because it's very important with what we're talking about, because they show us these things and we just need to see them. Let's get into Loki. Now we will cover Loki. This is when many pieces will come together. So we're not going to pay attention to a bunch of this stuff because it's a other god. It's not Hermes, it's Loki. So he's got different parents. The story's a little bit different. But that's just how it goes in these ancient gods and their mythologies. So Loki is a god in Norse mythology. Now I've highlighted the important things that we want to see. Loki is the father of Hel, the wolf Fenrir, and the world serpent Jormungandr. So, Loki, the father of Hel, remember Hela, hell and death, the wolf, which we see here, Fenrir, and the world serpent, Q, Quetzalcoatl, or as we know him here on my channel, Amaru. And America is his kingdom. This is the land of the gods. I showed you in the America is Egypt video. How many gods are over this place? Okay, this is the land of the gods. This is Asgard. So Loki's on the bridge. Hel was on the bridge. The wolf was on the bridge. The bridge coming from the serpent. Okay, now the car was coming from the United States, the land of the world serpent. Okay, it was coming from Asgard, just like you saw Thor coming down as lightning from Asgard, right? He was coming from the side of Asgard down onto the Rainbow Bridge to create destruction, just like we saw the car coming from the United States side onto the bridge, the electric lightning car flying up into the air and coming down in a ball of fire, causing destruction. Loki's relation with the gods varies by source. He sometimes assists the gods and sometimes behaves maliciously toward them. Loki is a shapeshifter, and in separate incidents appears in the form of a salmon, a mare, a fly, and possibly an elderly woman named Bach, I guess. I don't know what that letter in the beginning is. It looks like half a B and half a P. See how he takes the form of a fly? This is where the saying, "I wish I were a fly on the wall," comes from. So Loki is the Antichrist. So when you use this saying, "I wish I were a fly," you're wishing you were the Antichrist. I know that's not what you mean when you say it, but this is the ramifications that come with it. This is why God says, let your answer be yea, yea, and nay, nay. Anything more than that is sin. Here we have, with the onset of Ragnarok, Loki is foretold to slip free from his bonds to fight against the gods among the forces of Jotnar, at which time he will encounter the god Heimdallr. So Loki is responsible for Ragnarok, to slip free from his bonds. So Satan is loosed at Ragnarok, which takes place, and the battle of Ragnarok takes place at the Rainbow Bridge. This is what's happening. I hope you guys can start to see the spiritual things I'm showing you right now with the physical things I've already shown you. Okay, because none of these things are an accident. Here you can see Loki being called the trickster god. Just like Hermes was the divine trickster, Loki is the trickster god. While it has been suggested that this association with closing could point to Loki's apocalyptic role at Ragnarok, which we just were watching, there is quite a bit of evidence that Loki in pre-modern society that was thought to be the causer of knots, tangles, and loops, or he himself a knot, tangle, or a loop. Hence, it is natural that Loki is the inventor of the fishnet, which consists of loops and knots, and that the word Loki is a term for makers of cobwebs, spiders, and the like, though not prominent in oldest sources as the identifier as tangler, may be the etymological meaning of Loki's name. So here you see Loki, the causer and playing an apocalyptic role at Ragnarok, which we just watched him do by loosing Satan. He is the causer, or is himself, the knot, the tangle loop, the inventor of the fishnet, the cobweb, like the internet, the electric matrix, right? The net, catching people in his net, or the cobweb, the worldwide web, catching people in his web. I hope you can see what I'm trying to show you, because what's happening is there's being a tailspin. Okay, we're watching prophetic things come to pass. We're watching the spiritual realm bring forth lying signs and wonders into this realm. And many people cannot see these things because they just see the physical world, the accident. But what I'm showing you is how this accident is actually a fulfilling of these ancient stories. And you'll see as I get a little deeper into Loki exactly what's going on here. During the events of Ragnarok, Loki appears free from his bonds. So, Ragnarok frees Loki. So Satan is loosed from his prison. Okay, this is what starts Ragnarok. This is what starts the end times, the destruction of America. These are signs for God's people to see. That's why I'm bringing forth this message, so that people can see how this is a sign for us of the season. Okay? The arrival of Thor and the bondage of Loki. Thor tells Loki to be silent and threatens him with Mjolnir. I don't know how to pronounce his hammer's name. Adding that he will throw Loki up on the roads to the east, and thereafter no one will be able to see Loki. Notice he says he will throw Loki up on the roads to the east. Well, where is the Rainbow Bridge? It is on the east side of the United States and Canada. It is in between Niagara Falls and Ontario, on the east side. And Thor said he will throw Loki up on the roads to the east, the Rainbow Bridge to the east, where Loki and Thor both made an appearance in this accident. I would like to also point out that Loki never made an appearance on the bridge again. He started Ragnarok. So he was thrown up on the roads, and thereafter no one will be able to see Loki. So I'm going to return back up here now that we've learned about Loki and read this again, except I'm going to add this end part. With the onset of Ragnarok, Loki is foretold to slip free from his bonds and to fight against other gods among the forces of Jotnar, at which time he will encounter the god Hamdalar, and the two will slay each other. So here you have two deaths taking place at the onset of Ragnarok at the Rainbow Bridge, where all the gods I just showed you showed up in one way or another. So here we are back at the article. So I'm just going to lay this out a little bit deeper, and then we'll call it good. So there's a fiery Rainbow Bridge car crash at the U.S.-Canada border, which kills 2. All right, killing 2 people. As we just saw in Loki, 2 people died on the bridge, died at the onset of Ragnarok. The crash at the Rainbow Bridge remained murky. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. This shows a car traveling from the U.S. side at high speed, then hitting an object and flying into the air before crashing to the ground and exploding into flames. So Thor, Satan as lightning, the electric car, flying, right? Thor's flying through the air. This thing is flying into the air from the U.S. side, from the side of Asgard, crashing down and exploding, as we saw Thor crash down into that group of undead and explode. Yes, they're slightly different, but you have to see the spiritual side of this, okay? You have to see what's manifesting in reality here. We see this car, the electric car, the lightning car flying through the air. This is representative of Thor. The driver and the passenger perish in the wreck. These are the 2 which will slay each other. The driver was a 56-year-old man, okay? 101, 11. They don't tell you the age of his wife, just him. They were traveling in this Bentley, which I showed you is connected to Leave the World Behind, which was aired on the same day as this Kiss concert, Knights in Satan's Service, that they were going to, which was happening on the same day, which was canceled because Paul Stanley came down with the flu. Once again, here's Kiss's countdown to the End of the World Road Tour, with special guest Crown lands on that day. Crown. This is Apollo. This is Corona. It lands on the 22nd on Paul Stanley. Corona lands. The Crown lands. This is the release of Apollo, the loosing of the beast. Okay, these are signs to show us this is what's coming and to prepare ourselves. It also said that he shared this photo where he's got an IV drip, IV 4. This is Hermes. Hermes is the god of medicine, the merchants that led the world astray through their pharmakia, their sorcery, their medicine, their caduceus, the trickster god, the IV 4, Hermes 4. I hope you guys are putting this all together because this is absolutely crazy. The car sailed over an 8-foot tall fence before landing in a fireball that incinerated the vehicle. Here's your portal, this 8. Okay, these got to be in here. When the car traveling at high speed struck a fence at the crossing and catapulted into the air before exploding. So this lightning car was flying through the air from the United States side. It was flying over 100 miles an hour. It was described as fishtailing out of control because the people who were driving had no control over it. Okay? This is the Internet of Things. This is the problem with hooking everything to the internet is you're not in control. Satan's in control. The internet is his baby. Okay? He is the god of nets and webs. This is his matrix that he has built so that he can control everybody in the end times. It has to be an iron kingdom. He is not omnipresent like God. He needs to build a kingdom that can watch everybody all the time so that he can control everybody all the time. And this is why you're going to have the mark of the beast, this chip implanted in your hand, so they can control everything for their master, Satan. The Internet of Things, IoT, okay? This is Satan's toy, TOI, backwards. This is his game. And it is a game to him. It was a ball of fire 30 or 40 feet high. Never seen anything like it. That's because it was an electric car that exploded. So I hope I put this in a way that was understandable. There was a lot of random information and little connections to be made. I hope I portrayed them all. I hope you were able to see everything I was saying. If you didn't make all the connections, maybe watch it again. Or maybe look into this for yourself, because this stuff is absolutely mind-blowing. Okay, this is the end times, and there's lying signs and wonders happening all over the place. People just see an accident on this bridge. But as I have just shown you, it's much more than just an accident. This has been planned for a long time. Long before we were even thought of, or our grandparents, or their grandparents. Okay? This has been in motion. But with the Holy Spirit, I'm able to see past the illusion of what's happening in the physical realm, and to see into the spiritual realm what is going on behind the curtain. Okay? Because Satan likes to be behind the curtain. The greatest trick the devil ever played was convincing the world that he didn't exist. And so when you know he exists, you need to look behind the curtain, because there is more at play than what we see on the news or in the papers or anywhere. If we look, we will find. The Lord says, seek and ye shall find. Ask and it will be answered. That's what I do. I seek the deeper revelations of the things going on in this world. I ask for revelations when I can't figure something out, or when it's not readily coming to me. I pray for understanding, and then I can bring you guys the things that I find. So thank you, Stephen, for suggesting that I look into this, and thank you, James Smith, for making the connection to Leave the World Behind movie with Julia Roberts and Ethan Hawke. I appreciate you guys' input. We're all in this together, you guys. It's not just me and you. It's us. So, if you guys see things, don't be afraid to have me look into them, or you look into them and tell me what you find. Either way, join the Discord and let's share. Let's fellowship. Let's get to the bottom of the deceptions of this world and share them with each other. This is the only way we're going to grow and be ready for the things that are coming on this earth. This is a stark warning of what's coming, okay? Ragnarok, the destruction of America, the return of the fallen, all this stuff is coming. Satan is loosed, okay? He's loosed. Darkness is on the world, and I fear that next year is going to be the one where things take a serious turn for the worse. So, prepare your spirits, make yourself right with the Lord, be obedient, do what the Lord wants you to do and not what you want to do. Give praise to Him and accept the truth. And day by day, we will draw closer to the Lord, and through His strength, we'll be able to make it to the end. Take care.